Okay, I've been talking about it for this past week, and I'm excited for my next guest. I really am excited once again because I think it was 2014 when I first met Joe Manganiello. He came onto the Schmoes No Show. He's been producing, he's been acting. Obviously, you've seen him in so many different great roles, whether it's in at True Blood's first time I was aware of, actually, it's not True Spider-Man, and then True Blood, and so many different things. And we talked about Dungeons and Dragons and so much when he was on. He was one of my first guests on One-on-One with Kristian Karloff back on Collider. Well, he is now the host of Deal or No Deal Island. It is in its second season. I'm excited to speak to Joe once again. Here he is, Joe Manganiello. Joe, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, man, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So yeah, as we were talking before, it's been a little bit since you and I spoke, but I am not surprised again with how busy you have stayed. And now I'm so curious to where I'm not surprised that you're involved in this show, because we talked about it last time, how much you love games like this, and how, I was like, yeah, he's going to thrive at this. And it seems like you're having such a good time. So what is it about this show that you decided, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have a blast doing it?
I mean, it was just the perfect storm for me. I have a very like strategic mind for gaming, and I've like, gosh, I at age 6 I was being entered into chess tournaments, and I placed in a chess tournament when I was a 6-year-old kid. I used to play cards with the adults, and I remember at a young age, like being able to count into the deck. I could tell what all the adults had in their hands, and I knew what to play, what not to play, and I'd always beat the adults. I won a poker tournament in there at some point. I've always been obsessed with story, gaming. Here's the thing: if it was a hosting gig where I was going to step into some sort of like scripted reality show where we were
Yeah.
telling people what to say, I wouldn't be interested. But the fact that it's a game, we have a hands-off policy, like we don't interfere. The game unfolds, and we capture it the way that a documentary film crew captures it. That's
Yeah.
what's interesting to me. So I can get my mind inside of the game, and then run that and translate it for the audience at home, which is like I couldn't be happier. It's so much fun for me.
That makes so much sense, especially again because just following your career for so long, and as I mentioned in the beginning, the first time I met you was when you were doing your documentary, and you can see just from what you just said of how your brain works that way, that you want to see things working more, almost like it's a film, watching these real life people come up. Because I worked on The Bachelor. I was a producer on that show,
Oh,
so
really?
so I know exactly what you're talking about. Where it's not necessarily scripted, but they want things to go a certain way, it goes a certain way. And that doesn't seem to be your show at all.
Well, it's not. I mean, if you see the movie Quiz Show, for example, that was about the 1960s Game Show Act. Um,
Yeah, of course.
if you interfere with a game show or with the prize money in any way, shape, or form, you're all going to federal prison. Like that's we have a third party company that comes to the island that handles the numbering and the values of the cases that none of us, and
Wow.
it's like a 4-level process where there's only one person who actually knows the specific the values of what's inside each cage. We don't know.
Okay.
So with that said, it's like it is truly a competition. We set up this strenuous and difficult and tense, dramatic series of challenges, and then we enter these guests in, and they're playing for really life-changing money. So I again, the documentarian in me is, I just want to see it unfold. Like, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a great show no matter what. And as you can see, like, spoiler, the first episode of this season was also the worst game of Deal or No Deal, not even Deal or No Deal Island, the worst game of Deal or No Deal ever played.
Yeah.
So, and it's still super entertaining to watch. So we kind of proved our own theory there.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, and any game. Look, I ran, I think we spoke about it last time, but I ran a trivia league for about 10 years, a movie trivia league. And there is always, no matter what, even something as simple as movie trivia, there's always scandals involved.
Hmm.
There's always something that happens when it comes to these games.
Yep.
Someone tries to get a one up or tries to do something. And look, sports too, it happens all the damn time, right? So were you expecting that kind of going in, going, all right, who's going to be the first person to cheat? Who's going to be the first person I got to talk to? How does it blow back on you? Because you're a producer on this show too.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't looking for it, and I don't think I'm looking for anything. I walk into it just kind of like from a neutral position in the middle,
Sure.
like waiting to watch things happen. Kind of on the balls of my feet, ready to go.
Right.
With that said, last year there was a moment where um, someone looked to get advantage in a way that was not in accordance with the rules, and I had to come down on them.
Right.
And then
What's that conversation like though? When you say you got to come down on them, like what do you
Well,
what?
I have to stop the game and explain the rules. We
Okay.
stop the game, stop the timer. I've got to explain the rules. I've got to explain what happened to the other people in the game, explain it in a way that the people at home can understand once we start editing.
Right.
And then I have to deal out whatever punishment that is agreed upon by myself, the other producers, what we agree upon. We have to enact that. Now the point of it is that the point I'm trying to make is that as soon as the punishment was enacted and the game began, now my job is a little different. My
Mhm.
job as host and producer, I want the best competition possible. I want the most
Sure.
dramatic outcome. What's more dramatic than a huge comeback? Someone who's been penalized, someone who's behind, but is going to maybe come back for the win. So now I'm pumping that person up who just cheated
Hmm.
in order to get their head back into the game so that they can get out there and know that it's not over, and they're going to
Right.
have to dig harder, and then the people at home are going to watch this person dig harder, which then makes the drama better. So I'm constantly seesawing back and forth between these two polarities.
Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account. Interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. I'll tell you, eating healthier has been getting easier for me. HelloFresh, it's the best. I just am tired of figuring out over and over and over what's for dinner every night, what's for dinner, especially on the busy weekends. You just get dinner done easy thanks to HelloFresh. It's got a new read-made meal going right from the fridge to your fork in just 3 minutes. It is high-quality ingredients and restaurant-worthy flavor that you expect from HelloFresh, just with none of the work. You can save valuable time with fewer trips to the grocery store thanks to the HelloFresh Market. There's over 100 add-on items that you can add to your weekly box, like quick breakfast, packable snacks, beverages, and more. They are the best. I just love having them, and it's so convenient for me because I have a busy schedule, and HelloFresh makes it easy. You can get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. You got to go to HelloFresh.com, HelloFresh Podcast. It is highly encouraged. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Sure, and I'm sure, and again, from being a performer and for having the successful acting career that you've had too, I'm sure that comes into play when you're watching this person who, yes, it's sports, it's real life, but it's also in anything in sports and real life, there's performance and stuff that you need to find out the character, find the way the person, like you said, you got to be able to, I don't think manipulate is the right word, but I think that when you want to get a performance, you're encouraging the person, but you're like, okay, because of what you just said, you want to get people, and either they're rooting for them or saying F this cheater, I don't care, but either way you want them back in the game, and there's got to be that kind of same kind of motivation that you have as an entertainer, as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want the best game possible. I want the
Mm-hmm.
best game possible. But I think that, yeah, as an actor, as an artist, you're very sensitive to people's mood swings, where they're at emotionally, and you're understanding, what someone's probably going through in their mind,
Right.
and you can sense that in the same way that I can sense what the players want. Players want different things. Some of the players are on this game to win,
Mm-hmm.
to take home that money. They're gamers, they're strategists. Other people are on the show because, I don't know, maybe they're trying to increase their brand online.
Social
I
media.
don't
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
they've shown up and they haven't watched all the episodes that they should have watched.
Right.
They don't know who Parvati is. They don't know who Boston Rob is. They don't know who Dr. Will is. You might want to know these things if you're going to wind up on a show like ours. You might want to watch every
Right.
single episode, So, I mean, there was the season in Survivor, there was a guy who went on and never practiced making fire. So he gets down to the final four and it's
Right.
like, time to make fire. And it's like, well, I never did it. It's like, well, do you
Yeah.
want to win $1 million or not?
Right.
So,
And
you know what
that's,
I mean? People
yeah.
want different things and you got to kind of spot that.
Well, it's funny you say that because even when I was at Bachelor, it was different because when I started there, it was like 2009 or something. So the Instagram followings and all that stuff, it wasn't really what it is now. Now people literally just go on those shows because of what you just said. They just want to, okay, if I can make 2 or 3 episodes and I can make a splash, people go, oh, it's that person. Then my brand deals come in, then all this stuff comes in. So that's absolutely motivation for people to go in there and do that. And as someone for you, you're like, okay, fine. Well, that person's probably going to be out within the first episode or 2, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a great moment at the beginning of this season 2 where Parvati, known as the Black Widow,
Mm-hmm.
Survivor champion, is in the boat with the other contestants, and this guy Luke starts talking to her and says, "Oh, what's your name?" Parvati. Oh, that's exotic, and and he's looking for like a date. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
He's like
Right.
single and ready to mingle here, and he's talking to the Black Widow, who's
Right.
notorious for like eating men alive on these shows.
Sure.
We haven't even hit dry land yet, and this
Yeah.
guy's game's already over. So, you know what I mean? But that's the drama is like I love that part of it, and also if you'll look, they're talking over their shoulder is Dixon,
Mm-hmm.
and Dixon we knew was a huge reality fan. So he's sitting in the seat on the boat right behind them so that we can catch them in a 3 shot with him looking over the shoulder as Luke is kind of fumbling through this attempt at talking to Parvati. You see Dixon looking, he knows exactly who she is. So you know what I mean? Like we can set like situations up like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like we're placing them where we think we're gonna get the best drama, and then let's go.
Yeah, and that's also got to be a real fun thing for you too, because I'm sure, like, did you come in season 1 as a producer, or was it after
I
season 1?
became a producer season 2, but in
Okay.
season 1, I was doing almost all the same duties. I mean, I was working with the folks at Endemol and NBC and our showrunner Matt Kunitz,
Yeah.
and I was working with the story team. Like, I mean, I was involved in every aspect. It just, it became official season 2, and then of
Wh-
course, like season 1, they were further along in the process by the time that I got there. So I wasn't in on casting
Sure.
challenges, the setup,
Yeah.
So in this year I was.
And you're just having a blast doing this. Is it? I mean, and I
I
gotta,
love it.
yeah, and are you still able to? Because that's a lot of, especially for when you're on network TV, there's a lot of episodes, there's a lot of time, especially when you're executive producer and you're doing a lot of stuff. You got upcoming shows that you're working on, you got movies that you're working on, which I got to talk to you about One Piece, by the way.
Mhm.
Did you shoot that already?
I shot
Something.
I shot my introduction, yes.
Okay. Is that all you can talk about?
They're very they are very locked down over there, I'll
Okay.
say. But
I don't want,
no,
yeah.
so I definitely, there was a notice that went out that season 2 was a wrap, and I am introduced in season 2. So
Oh, I can't. Can
yeah.
you say how many episodes you're on? You
Eh,
can't.
nah.
Okay. Can you should I stop asking you questions? But I'm so excited. You know what's so funny about that show, dude, is that I'm not. I should say well, yeah, I'll say I'm not. I didn't think I was a target audience for that show. My
Mhm.
my daughter watched the anime, and she was telling me about it, and she's like, you got to watch the show. And then people were telling me, oh, you got to react to the show, you got to check it out. And I'm like, I'll watch the first one. I don't think anybody's gonna care. And I got such a kick out of the show, and I really enjoyed it so much. And when I heard that you were going to be in it, I was like, he's not going to be able to tell me shit, but I'm going to at least ask him about it, because
Yeah.
I'm so pumped for it. So
Nice, yeah.
I'm glad that you're on that one. And the other thing that I am sure you get asked about all the damn time is with DC and what's been going on there, because there's all the stuff that happened, obviously, with Zack Snyder, and there's going to be the bigger plan for your character kind of moving forward, and then it all moves through James Gunn and Saffron, and from I don't know, rumors, you've met with those guys, right?
I mean, well, I'm friends with James Gunn,
Right.
so I mean, I've been friends with him for years.
But so, is there any? I love this portion of it, because I'm like, there's only so much the guy's going to tell me if he is doing something. But is there? How about this? Is there something in the same way that's, I guess, when they asked Momoa a while ago about Lobo? Is there something in general that, whether it's revisiting the character you already played, or is there anybody new that you'd want to play in the DCU that you would want to get back into that world?
I don't know, man. It's that was like I hate talking about things that I didn't get to do.
Okay.
And that was about 6 years full of, I think it was either 5 or 6 movies that I wound up being attached to after Batman fell apart.
Yeah.
I was cast as Ben Affleck's villain in Batman. That's it.
Okay.
When that movie didn't happen, things went into the blender. So, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's just, it was kind of a long, prolonged story as they took that universe apart,
Yeah.
and that's it. So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what can I say?
No, I understand that. I mean, and you actually told me that last time when we first met. You said, because we talked about Superman, we talked about that stuff, and you've always stuck with it. You said, look, I don't like talking about those things in the past, because
Mhm.
it's not the past. It's the things that happen. That's the life of an actor.
Mhm.
Is that there's these things in it, because it was the
Well,
whole
yeah, but
thing.
it's also like probably like one of the biggest collapses. Like, I mean, it's kind of, it was colossal,
It was.
what happened over there. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but
And then, well,
that's it.
then, being friends with Gunn, and then, so do you, then when that happens, are you like, okay, yeah, this is the guy that should be taking over this thing?
I'll tell the honest truth. I don't really watch superhero movies.
Okay.
I'm not, I don't keep up with it. I don't know what's going on. I read comics as a kid, but you know, I like The Dark Knight. I like Logan.
Yeah.
Um, there's, I liked like first couple of phases, I guess, of
Marvel.
Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Tim Burton's Batman. I love The Crow.
Okay.
First couple X-Men's were great. So, I like a certain style of movie, and I like a certain style of storytelling, and if that can get done, within those confines, then great. I think I'm a much more subversive. Like, I'd rather watch Unbreakable.
Oh, it's such a great movie. I was just talking
But
about
to
that the
me,
other day.
like,
Yeah.
that's it's about something,
Yeah.
and it's really smart and really well done, and so I kind of gravitate towards things like that. That's
Yeah.
that's the kind of
Unbreakable's.
stuff that I like. But um, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I was just talking about the other day. Unbreakable to me is one of my I think it's my favorite Shyamalan movie. I really do.
it's great.
I love that movie. And then, did you like Split and the follow-ups?
I didn't see the follow-ups. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
No.
Interesting. So what do you, so then, again, because you've been so busy, have you been able to keep up with, I'm sure the answer is yes here, with D&D, you've been able to keep doing it
No. So I used to work for the company,
yeah.
and I was hired to develop Dragonlance as a series for them.
Uh-huh.
I was hired to direct and produce a 50th anniversary documentary that I worked on for like 4 years, five
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
something like that. And those projects are currently um, sitting there. So
Okay.
whether or not they ever, the pilot script turns into a series or the documentary ever gets released, it's not up to me anymore.
Okay.
So I don't really know anybody in that building anymore. I don't
Okay.
really talk to anybody up there. you know, after like having written for them and created characters and toys and
Yeah.
go on talk shows for them, and I was, you know, on payroll with marketing, and you know what I mean, like, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I worked so intensely, you know, with them for years, and I don't really know anything about the new edition or what they're
Okay.
doing up there. So I do sometimes when we're all in town, I'll have my friends over and we'll order pizza and I'll run a game for them.
Okay.
So I do still do that from time to time.
Okay. So right now, I guess the focus really is it kind of all in right now on the show is, and I know you're working on
Well,
other things too.
we filmed the show in a month.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know,
Really?
we knocked that thing out,
Oh
and
shit. Yeah.
oh, sorry, my dog is jumping up
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
So yeah, so you know, we go in, we kind of like we live in a bubble, we shoot the show. You know, I have a film known as
Yeah.
where Vince Vaughn and I play best friends in this
Okay.
really funny comedy that'll come out on Netflix on May 9th, I think. It's
Okay.
coming out. So there's that. Yeah, there's One Piece, and then I'm in the middle of writing a couple of things. So
Was this the, and I see one, is it Mountain Men? Is that the one? Is that,
no,
no, okay.
no. So yeah, I got a couple of things that I'm not
Okay.
that are, but you know, like I said, you know, I get hired to write things. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
so Nona's though, it's I mean, what a cast with Linda Cardellini, Vince Vaughn, Susan Sarandon, Lorraine Bracco. I mean, that's fun, man. So that's a Netflix comedy that's shot for Netflix.
Well, no, we shot it. Great director Steven Chbosky, who
Okay.
made a film called "The Perks of Being a Wallflower," based
Oh,
on his
great. Yeah.
novel that he wrote of the same name. So he wrote the novel, adapted it for film, and then
Yeah.
directed it. And he's awesome. And he
Yeah.
actually he
He's a
went to
Pittsburgh guy, right?
my rival high school. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's so funny. And so, you know, we met, and he, you know, he liked me and wanted me to play this role. And then he said, "Do you know Vince Vaughn?" And I said, "Yeah, funny enough, I do. I'm good friends with Vince Vaughn."
Oh, that's
So,
great.
so it was funny that like we had met each other, and I had come to the role without him even knowing that Vince and I were buddies. So that was fun. And then of course once Vince found out, it was like, okay, let's go.
And then yeah, so
So
that's kind of amazing, especially for comedies, right? Because when you don't have to find that vibe because you already have that vibe because you guys been friends for a bit, that's kind of make it a little easier.
yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, it's like you never know. I mean, you got to get in there and work together, you know. But I think
Yeah.
that he and I, um, you know, we just got along really well on screen. I think it was really fun. It was like a
Yeah.
good, you know, it was a good matchup. It was like it was good. You know, it was really fun. And Drea De Matteo plays my wife, and she's
Okay.
hilarious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she and I had a really funny thing that we found. You know, when you
Good.
know Italian couples, when they love each other, they yell at each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
they kind of have that way of yelling at each other,
Yep.
and that was just a blast. So I had a great time with her. You know, I'd worked with Linda Cardellini years ago on ER,
Oh, right. Right.
so
Right.
we
Right.
knew a
Right.
lot of the same people. I used to do a lot of
Yep.
plays in LA, and then she was friends with the playwright who used to write all those plays that I was in, and then I wound up on ER. And
Yeah.
so, you know, we knew a ton of the same people, and you know, I was such a fan of obviously like, you know, Susan Sarandon's a legend, and Lorraine Bracco. It's like, you know, I grew up with I saw Goodfellas 300 times before I
Yeah.
turned 16 years old. So
Is that the first thing that both Lauren Bracco and Drea have done together since Sopranos?
maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. And
That,
Talia Shire also,
oh, that's great.
who's amazing.
Of course.
And Brenda Vaccaro,
Yeah, it's a
who's
great.
telling
Holy crap!
midnight
What a
cowboy
cast.
stories. So it was awesome. And then Michael Rispoli's in it, who I had cast in a film that I produced and started called Bottom of the Ninth. So it was a bit of a reunion with him. So it was just
That's
awesome.
fun.
I'm all the way around, and the script is it's so full of heart, and it's such a great film for the older ladies. I think
I'm
people are gonna love it.
I'm glad to hear it, man. That's a hell of a cast. You
Yeah.
know, you mentioned there's certain things that you're not into as far as movies and TV. What are you watching right now? What are the things that you love? Any movies that are any of the nominated movies? Any of those things that you really liked?
I love Sean Baker.
Okay.
I love hyper realism. Like I
Yeah.
love directors who can you know, the way that like I love the Florida Project. I went crazy when the Florida Project came out. I went crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still bugging people about it because of how well Anora is doing. I'm like, have you seen it yet? Did you want, you know? I loved Red Rocket.
Yeah.
I loved and I loved Anora, and so yeah, I'm a big fan of Anora. Also, there's Armenian spoken in Anora,
Yeah,
and
there,
you know
there.
I'm Armenian. I mean, these tattoos on my arm
Oh,
are
shit.
Armenian.
Okay.
So, you know, it's like and I'm friends with one of the actors, one of the Armenian actors in the film. So I'm really happy for that one. I hope it and I love like 70s style ambiguous endings
Yeah, I
because they
was
don't feed
surprised,
it to
dude.
you.
Yeah, that movie shocked me. I'll tell you why. Because when I first saw it, and I'm like, oh, so they're essentially doing for the first like 10 minutes, they're essentially doing the version of Pretty Woman that never made it,
Right.
the drama, and I'm like,
It was called 3000.
that's right. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
called
yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
when he
and I was
rips
like,
the coat off of her.
yeah, and leaves her in
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
addicted to drugs, and it's a
Mhm,
lot crazy. I'm like, oh, that's what they shot, and then they're like, nope. Within like
mhm.
15 minutes, dumps her in the head, and it's hilarious. It's a comedy for like a majority of it until you get to the end.
Yeah, 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 and just you know, without giving anything away, that
Yeah,
final scene, you know,
heartbreak.
when I saw where the final scene was maybe going to land at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah.
there's this incredibly emotional moment. I put my hands up in the air, and I was like, "Please go to credits, please go to." And then they went to credits, and I was like, "Yes!" Oh God, it was like
Yeah.
watching an Olympic gymnast stick a landing
It
after a crazy routine. It was like, oh,
is
awesome,
yeah,
awesome.
and what a comeback that movie's kinda having too. It's funny, you can kinda relate this back to the game when it comes to you have, like, the players up top that maybe you're in the lead and then something happens and it's like, "Oh, but yeah, but the stronger players are coming up from the rear here," because look at what happened with both Amelia Perez, the Brutalist. There's these controversies around
Hmm.
kinda both of them, and then here comes Anora just winning everything, just won Critics' Choice Awards,
Yeah,
and now a lot of people are thinking that it's gonna win the Best Picture.
yeah.
Out of those, did you see all 3 of those movies?
I haven't seen The Brutalist yet.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I have not, and I'm dying to see it. It's next. I just like I've been going. You asked me like what I've been watching. I've been trying to
Yeah,
catch
yeah.
up. I just watched Nosferatu the other night.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you about. It's funny because that was a great, so that was in my top 5 of the year.
Yeah, I like Nosferatu. I like Eggers a lot. I
Yeah.
love his penchant for historical accuracy. I
Mhm.
appreciate. I mean, that's being a coming from a great drama program and coming from the theater. You know, prior to the internet, I was in I was in the Carnegie Mellon University campus library till 4 in the morning. So
Mm.
often looking up everything I could about Russian turn of the century Russian history in order to understand Chekhov. And so anybody that gets into and I love the way that he allows the costumes, the sets to and the customs of the time to really dictate a lot of the story. You really
Sure.
feel like you're getting the true fable, of the vampire myth. And I love Eggers a lot. And but I haven't seen The Brutalist yet, and that's like the next one on my list. Yeah.
I just finished it not too long. I think Brody should win best as far as actor. I think the directing was really good. I think
Hmm.
the cinematography was wonderful. I like the first half better than the second half personally.
Okay.
But I think it's a really solid movie. It's an epic film. And it's
Yeah.
gorgeous, great performances. But I'm curious. Out of the one, Dune 2 was my movie. That was the
How
one.
did I don't know how you don't nominate Denny for director. I mean, there's a 26-minute vignette on YouTube. I think he was talking to Vanity Fair
Yeah,
about the worm riding sequence.
yeah,
And it was like that man directed more in that worm riding sequence than some directors do their entire career. I mean,
yeah.
the problems that he had to solve, the gimbal with the sand blowers, and realizing that you had to turn around to shoot on those dunes, and you can only shoot it at this time in the morning, and so they had to wait till the next day to come around and make sure the
Right.
lighting was. It was just like it was amazing. It was such a
Yeah.
master class on what it means to be a director and have to answer those questions, all the questions. And you know, I
I don't
mean,
know. I don't know
whatever.
how he didn't get nominated. I mean, and then same thing with John M. Chu for Wicked, right? Like John M. Chu wins for Wicked on Critics' Choice Awards, doesn't get nominated for Oscars. I don't know. That one, those
Hey
two
man, Al
misses.
Pacino didn't win for Godfather 2. Ray Fiennes didn't win for Schindler's List.
Yeah,
Saving Private Ryan didn't win Best Picture.
but they were nominated at least. But they were nominated.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, yeah, because I still think
So,
Stallone should have won for Creed, but that we could be here all day with that. And speaking of which, I quote you all of the time for when you told me a story about Arnold and the whole dude. I use it all the time. The milk is for babies.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have you spoken to him at all
I haven't
recently?
seen him. I haven't. It's funny. I haven't seen him in a long time, man. I haven't seen him in a while.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he's definitely worth the price of admission. That's for sure. You know.
I love your stories about him. They're so
he's
good.
he's so
It,
funny.
he's so funny. But well, it's good, man. I'm glad that you're doing well on this show. And the show is on we're episode 2 is just aired right now.
Deal or No Deal Island.
Yeah.
Episode 6 just aired
Oh,
last night.
6. Oh, there's
Yeah,
okay.
and
I
the
just watched
ratings,
it.
I just got a notification that the ratings keep going up every week, so I'm very happy about that.
I'm not
Because I mean,
surprised by that. I'm not surprised. It's a really good show. It's a fun game. It's different. And then that was actually what it reminded me of, and not as far as similar premises. They're completely different. But hear me out here. Fear Factor, and the reason I bring that up is you reminded me of where Rogan went from his career in stand-up comedy to acting and then hosting, right? And what I thought is, why don't, and if you do, forgive me, but why is there not a Joe Manganiello podcast?
that's funny. Yeah, it's what's funny is our Fear Factor was created by a guy named Matt Kunitz, who is our
Hmm.
showrunner for Deal or No Deal Island. So the DNA is there.
Okay.
Podcast was, I mean, that's interesting. It's been brought up a million times.
Yeah.
It's been brought up a lot, and there was actually a moment where it looked like it was going to happen, and I traveled 43 weeks out of last year.
Hmm.
So, which means I was home 9.
Right.
And it was just a crazy year for work and travel for me, and all that stuff's going to start rolling out over the next year or so. So, it wasn't the right time. There's a lot of people that have podcasts right now. I mean,
It's true, but
you've been there for a long time, but it seemed like last year, like there was like 1,000,001. I mean, it was like
there's tons
everybody
of
had a
them.
podcast. Yeah.
But the one up though is that you've got your name, and you've got the things that I think and you've got the fan base that you have. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm essentially doing what you did before. I want to pep talk you into doing this. I just think that I think you'd be great at it, man. I would listen to it. I mean, all the war stories and stuff
Well,
that you got too.
the other thing is that at the time I was directing the Dungeons and Dragons 50th anniversary documentary.
Yeah.
So I was running 2-3 hour interviews with a lot of my interesting friends, about everything from their creativity, and the where creativity comes from, show running, being a
Mm-hmm.
rock star, being a talk show, all that kind of stuff. So at the time, it was a bit like, I was handling that as a documentarian, while I was doing it. So it was
Right.
like, well, this isn't the right time because I'm doing this. I'm just interviewing people anyway,
Yeah.
for the doc. And then once that was done, like I said, I just went into a period of like work over the past like year and a half that just has taken me around the planet, and just wouldn't have been possible. So I don't know. I mean,
Well, let me know. You never say
it's all
never, right?
it's
But
always
yeah,
there. Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to. I'll be looking out for it. But are you? And the reason I brought that up too,
Mhm.
I feel like you UFC guy, MMA guy.
Yeah, I'm into the fights. I was more into boxing for many years.
Me too.
I
Me
used to
too.
I used to box at a gym here in LA that weirdly was owned by Bob Dylan.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
This 18th Street gym in Santa Monica. I used to go train like 6 days a week, and I had a boxing trainer. He wanted me to fight in like events, and
Wow.
I was like, I think I might need my face at some point. So,
But still, I mean, it's great.
but I'm a
I'm with
fight
you.
fan. I'm a big
Yeah,
fight fan. Yeah.
I was a big boxing guy growing up. I used to watch all the fights with my dad, but it was the 2005 Ultimate Fighter show that got me into it. But the reason I bring that up is in the podcasting stuff is one of the fight I was because I was in LA until recently. I live in New York now, but I was when I was trying to make it and trying to do some stuff too. I was betting on the UFC fights, and the fight that I bet on was Matt Serra and GSP. I
Hmm.
talked about that on Collider Live when I was there, and Matt Serra listened to it, and he and I became buddies. And now here I produce his podcast, and he was
Oh,
another
cool.
guy who was like, he's just so great on the mic, and he's just such a big personality. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where the impetus of me bringing that up to you, because I was like, yeah, that I can see kind of Joe doing exactly what Matt's been doing
Thanks.
too.
Well,
So
I have a lot of interesting friends, like
yeah,
really interesting friends. So, yeah,
yeah. Well,
it's on the
good.
table.
If this was the seed, then I'll be happy it was planted. And then I think that one of the last things though, man, is as far as where I know you said you're not involved with Dungeons and Dragons, but I would be mad at myself if I didn't ask you this. Is that I could not believe you weren't in that movie, the one the Chris Pine one. I couldn't believe it.
I was offered a role. I was offered two
Okay,
roles.
were you okay?
Mhm.
And just wasn't the right role.
This wasn't the right thing for me. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay, then that makes sense. In fact, as long as they asked you, because I was like, how the hell is this guy not in this movie? And I was watching, and the movie didn't do very well, but I liked the movie. I thought it was a. Did you like the movie?
Didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it. Okay, fair enough.
I read the script. I read the
All
script.
right,
I read two versions of the script. Yeah, yeah.
all right. All right. Well, listen, I am always happy to talk to you, man. It's always a great conversation, and I'm so happy for that your show is doing well. I'm glad that you just got the ratings and that they're going up. I encourage people to check it out. Deal or No Deal Island, please go and check that out. You can find it on Peacock, obviously. I wish you all the best, man. I'm so glad that you were able to join me here today.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, man, we'll talk soon.
We'll talk
I'm
soon.
sure.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
All right,
Right
brother.
on, brother.
All
Thanks.
right.